In 1922, a 15-year-old kid in Tokyo is scrubbing floors. His name is Soichiro Honda. He is not learning engines yet. He is carrying water. He is sweeping grease off the shop boards. And he is getting laughed at. He works at a small garage called Art Shokai. The boss, Yuzo Sakakibara, makes it clear. The new boy is here to clean, not talk. Soichiro sleeps near tools. He wakes up before sunrise. He washes parts in cold water until his hands crack. He came from Tenryu village near Hamamatsu. His father, Gihei, fixed bicycles. His mother, Mika, wove cloth. Money was always thin. Soichiro is obsessed with machines. As a child, he reportedly followed cars down the road just to smell the oil. When a car passed his village, he chased it like it was magic. Now the magic is gone. It is just dirt and scolding, but he watches everything. How the mechanics hold a wrench, how they listen to a bag bearing, how they file metal until it fits. One night, he finds an old piston on the bench. He turns it in his hands like it is treasure. He whispers nothing, he just remembers. And then something happens. Art Shokai builds a race car. They call it a Curtiss using an American airplane engine. Soichiro begs to help. The answer is no. So he stays late, he cleans faster, he becomes invisible, and slowly they let him touch real parts. His first turning point is tiny, a small screw, a real job. He feels it in his chest. Because he knows this, if he can survive humiliation at 15, he can build something bigger than the whole shop. He polishes spark plugs until they shine. He learns the sound of a good idle even from across the room. Day by day, and years later the world will learn his name, but right now he is still the Broom Boy, and the next lesson will hurt even more. He is about to learn what speed can cost. By 1923, Soichiro is still at Art Shokai. He is 16, then 17. The days are loud and endless. Japan is changing. Cars are rare, but they are coming. The shop fixes anything with wheels. The owner loves racing. He believes racing proves skill. Soichiro watches races near the Tama River when he can. He learns the difference between chance and design. A loose bolt can kill. A bad tire can flip a car. In 1924, he reportedly gets to ride with the team, just a helper, but close enough to hear the engine scream. The Curtiss race car is famous in their circle. It is fast. It is dangerous. Soichiro starts copying parts by hand. He files metal at night. He studies valves and timing. He makes mistakes, then makes them again faster. His hands are covered in tiny cuts. His shirt always smells like fuel. He does not care. Then the price of racing shows up. During one race, the car crashes. Accounts describe chaos and broken parts. Soichiro sees injuries. He sees how fast dreams can turn into wreckage. That moment sticks. He loves speed, but he respects danger. In 1928, at age 21, he is trusted enough to open a branch. Art Shokai sends him back to Hamamatsu. This is home soil. He runs the Hamamatsu branch shop. He hires workers. He deals with customers. He also races. He upgrades cars. He modifies engines. His shop earns a reputation, but he takes a hard hit. In 1936, he crashes during a race at Tamagawa. He is seriously injured. His face is scarred. The turning point is brutal. He realizes he is not immortal. He quits racing after that crash. It hurts his pride. It also saves his life. He focuses on building, not driving. He starts thinking bigger than repairs. Hamamatsu is not Tokyo, but he believes he can still change Japan. He stares at a gasket like it is a map. The branch shop has a tiny office with a single calendar on the wall. He writes repair notes in thick pencil, then wipes his hands on his apron. He wants to make parts. Real parts, factory parts, parts Japan can trust, and he knows what he will chase next. A single ring of metal, small enough to fit in your palm, hard enough to decide your future. And he is going to risk everything on it. In 1937, Soichiro Honda is 30 years old, and he makes a move that changes everything. He opens a new company in Hamamatsu. It is called Tokai Seiki Kikyohei is not building cars. He is building piston rings. It sounds small, almost boring, just a ring of metal, you know? But Soichiro knows something most people do not. A piston ring is not just a circle. It is a test of precision, of discipline, of pride. He wants to sell these rings to Toyota, and Toyota is rising fast. They need parts in massive numbers. Soichiro builds a small factory. He buys machines. He studies metallurgy like his future depends on it, because it does, you know, and then reality hits him hard. The first rings are bad. Toyota tests them and rejects them. The failure is painful, humiliating, but Soichiro does not blame Toyota. He blames himself. So he does something that surprises everyone. He goes back to school. Yes, school, you know. He sits with younger students. He takes notes. He learns casting, heat treatment, tolerance, and hardness. And at night, when others sleep, he experiments. He melts metal. He changes carbon content. He ruins batches again and again, but he does not stop. This is the turning point. He stops being only a gifted mechanic and becomes a real engineer. You know, in 1939, he finally gets it right. Toyota approves the quality. Orders begin to flow. Tokai Seiki expands. Ihei builds a bigger plant. Workers are trained. Quality control becomes everything. Every ring is checked. Every flaw is hunted. Nothing is allowed to slip. But then hard times arrive. The nation enters a difficult period. Materials become scarce. Pressure rises. And the outside world begins to shake the ground beneath them. In 1944, a major shock hits Hamamatsu. Parts of his factory are damaged. Kaid in 1945, a powerful earthquake strikes the region. More damage follows. Soichiro watches walls collapse. Machines break, years of work turn into dust. And still, he stands there. No speech. No drama, just a tired man holding a damaged piece of steel, with silence in his eyes. Then he makes the hardest decision of his life. Kihei sells what is left of Tokai Seiki to Toyota. The deal happens around 1945. It is not a victory. It is survival, and somehow it becomes freedom. Because suddenly he has money, and he has one burning question. What does Japan need now? The country is exhausted. Roads are broken. People walk for hours just to get to work. Soichiro looks at the ruins. Even a small engine can feel like hope. Post-war Japan is desperate. In 1946, Soichiro Honda is 39. Fuel is scarce. Food is scarce. But people still need to move. Trains are crowded. Buses are unreliable. A bicycle becomes a lifeline. Soichiro finds surplus generator engines, small two-stroke units left by the military. He buys them where he can. He mounts them on bicycles. It is noisy. It smokes, but it moves. Neighbors stare. Some laugh. Others beg to buy one. He forms the Honda Technical Research Institute in 1946. It is not fancy. It is a workshop with stubborn energy. He and his team make simple motorized bicycles. They use leftover parts. They use scrap metal. They use imagination. In 1947, he builds his own engine design, no more relying on surplus. This matters. In 1948, he turns the institute into a real company. Honda Motor Company Limited is founded in Hamamatsu. Soichiro is president, but he has a problem. He can build, he cannot sell at scale. Then he meets Takeo Fujisawa in 1949. Fujisawa is a businessman. He understands money and distribution. This partnership is a major turning point. Soichiro builds, Fujisawa sells. Together they become dangerous. Their first big product arrives in 1949. The model is the Honda Dream D Type. It is a 98cc two-stroke motorcycle. It is not perfect, but it is theirs. The company is still poor. Workers eat simple meals. Machines run all night. Mistakes cost everything. On Bison Biken. They test bikes on back roads, dodging carts and potholes. If an engine coughs, he pulls it apart right there on the roadside. Soichiro pushes hard, too hard sometimes. He expects speed, he expects pride, but he also listens to customers. They want something reliable. something that starts every morning. He looks at the streets of Japan. He sees students. He sees farmers. He sees delivery men. He does not want luxury. He wants mobility. Then he makes another leap. He targets a new engine style, 4-stroke, quiet, cleaner. It is a risk. 2-stroke engines are easier. 4-stroke requires precision. Soichiro loves precision now. He wants to beat Europe at their own game, And he is about to build the machine that changes everything, Because the next dream will not stay in Japan. By the mid-1950s, Honda is growing fast. In 1954, Soichiro. Honda announces a bold goal. He wants to enter the Isle of Man TOT, the world's toughest motorcycle race. People think he is crazy. Japan is still rebuilding. Europe dominates racing. But he believes racing is proof again, In 1958, Honda releases a new machine, the Super Cub C100. It uses a 49cc 4-stroke engine. It has a step-through frame. It looks simple, but it is genius. The bike is easy to ride. It is easy to fix. It is cheap. It uses a centrifugal clutch, so beginners do not stall. Sales explode in Japan, then they spread. This is the turning point. Honda stops being a local company. It becomes a mass movement. Factories expand. In 1959, Honda enters the American market. They open American Honda Motor Company in Los Angeles. The early days in the USA are rough. Their bikes leak oil. Dealers do not trust them. Customers laugh at small engines. Then they find the right message. You meet the nicest people on a Honda. Simple, friendly, not intimidating. The Super Cub becomes a symbol. Students ride it. Workers ride it. Women ride it. People who never touched motorcycles ride it. Meanwhile, racing continues. In 1959, Honda first competes at Isle of Man TOT. They do not win yet, but they learn. By 1961, Honda wins multiple classes at the TOT. A Japanese company beating Europe. That shocks the industry. In the Cub factory, he times assembly, steps with a stopwatch. He hates waste, even a second lost reaching for a bolt. Soichiro is obsessed with improvement. He walks factory floors. He touches parts. He argues with engineers. He is not polite. He is hungry. And the numbers keep climbing. Within years, Super Cub production reaches millions. Soichiro once cleaned floors. Now he owns factories that never sleep. But his ambition grows again. He wants to build cars, not just motorcycles. People inside the company worry. Cars are expensive. Car companies are protected. Soichiro ignores fear. He says, the future is bigger than 2 wheels. And he begins building a 4-wheeled dream. Something small, something Japanese, something that could scare giants. And the first car will test everything. In 1963, Honda makes a public move. They release the T360 mini truck. They also reveal the S500 sports car. Soichiro Honda is 56. He is no longer the mechanic kid, but he still acts like one. The T360 is a key truck. It uses a small engine and fits Japan's K rules. The S500 is tiny and sporty, built for fun. It is a turning point. Honda is now a vehicle maker, not just a bike maker. But the road is not smooth. Japan's government wants to limit the number of car makers. The industry ministry prefers mergers. Honda is seen as an outsider. Soichiro fights back. He refuses to be absorbed. He pushes for independence. He also pushes technology. In the late 1960s, emissions rules start tightening. American rules get serious. Honda answers with CVCC, compound vortex-controlled combustion, a cleaner burning engine design. In 1972, Honda launches the Civic. It is compact, it is light, it is efficient. In 1973, the oil crisis hits. Gas prices rise. Big cars look foolish. This becomes Honda's moment. The Civic is in demand. CVCC helps it meet us emissions without a catalytic converter in early versions. Engineers argue in meeting rooms, but he drags them to the test track. He says data matters more than titles, and he means it. Soichiro watches the company win through engineering. That feels personal. He once failed at piston rings. Now his engines beat regulations. But growth creates pressure. Factories expand abroad. People wear suits. Meetings get heavy. Soichiro hates slow thinking. He wants action. He wants testing. He still remembers grease on his hands. He does not want the company to forget its roots. So he keeps racing too. Honda enters Formula One in the 1960s. They win races, including in 1965 in Mexico. They also suffer tragedy like the 1968 death of driver Joe Schlesser in France. These highs and lows carve the company. Soichiro is proud, but he is tired. And he starts wondering, can a founder stay wild forever? Because soon he will step away from the throne. And the world will see if Honda can survive without him. By 1973, Honda is huge. Soichiro is 66. His hair is gray. His temper is still sharp. He and Takeo Fujisawa built this together. But both men know the company needs new leaders. In 1973, Soichiro retires as president. Fujisawa also steps down. It is planned. But it still hurts. This is the turning point. The kid who begged to touch parts is no longer in charge. Soichiro becomes supreme advisor. He visits plants, he watches tests, he gives opinions nobody can ignore. He still cares about details. A bolt torque, a casting flaw, a strange sound in an engine. Outside Japan, Honda keeps expanding, In 1979, Honda begins producing motorcycles in the United States. And later cars too. In Honda of America, manufacturing becomes real in Ohio. Soichiro watches from the side. He wants to jump in, but he forces himself to stay back. He learns a hard lesson. A company must outlive its founder. Still, he stays connected to racing. He loves the smell of fuel. He loves the logic of speed. He spends mornings fishing sometimes, yet his mind is still on camshafts, When a new model launches, he shows up unannounced just to listen. He also becomes more public. Awards come in. People call him a genius. He shrugs. He knows his past. He knows he was a dropout. He knows he was stubborn and difficult. And he knows he got lucky to meet Fujisawa. Without that partnership, Honda might have stayed a small shop. He starts telling younger engineers one thing: do not fear failure, but do not repeat it blindly. His own scars prove it. Yet retirement does not mean quiet. In the 1980s, Honda becomes a global force. The Accord grows. The Civic becomes a household name. Soichiro watches Honda take on giants. Toyota, Nissan, Ford. It feels unreal. Then he sees something that makes him smile. People in many countries ride Super Cubs like bicycles. The product he helped create becomes part of daily life. He feels proud, simple proud, but time keeps moving, and the man who once chased cars down a village road is now chasing something else, legacy, and one last honor is waiting. In 1980, Soichiro Honda is 73. He is an old man now, but still restless. Honda keeps winning in new ways. In 1982, Honda becomes the first Japanese automaker to build cars in the United States, starting production in Marysville, Ohio. That is huge. A company from Hamamatsu now builds on American soil. Soichiro visits. He watches workers. He smiles at the sound of machines. It reminds him of his first shops. In 1986, Honda launches Acura in North America. A luxury brand, another leap. To some people, it looks like betrayal of simplicity. To Soichiro, it is proof of range. A company can build cheap scooters and premium cars. His turning point here is emotional and not technical. He realizes his ideas outgrew Japan. They outgrew him. Recognition piles up, In 1989, he is inducted into the Automotive Hall of Fame. His name is now carved among global legends. He also receives honors in Japan. The government respects him. Industry respects him. Even rivals respect him. But his body slows. He cannot walk factory floors forever. At home, he keeps old tools in a box like trophies. Friends say he still smelled like machine oil even in a suit. And still, he stays curious. He asks about new materials. He asks about fuel economy. He asks about safety. He hates the idea of stagnation. He believes machines should help people live better. He also looks back at the war years, the bombed factory, the earthquake, the broken tools, He remembers the smell of dust, and he remembers the bicycles with tiny engines, how people lined up, how they needed hope more than style. That is what he is most proud of. Not racing trophies, not luxury, movement, no, but life is cruel, and because right when the world is praising him, it starts taking him away. In 1991, Soichiro Honda dies at age 84. He passes in Tokyo. Japan mourns. The company mourns. The industry mourns. Oh, and millions of riders keep riding, but the story is not finished, because the question remains, how does a company keep the founder's fire when the founder is gone? After 1991, Honda Motor Company keeps moving. Factories keep running. New engineers keep arriving. But Soichiro's fingerprints stay everywhere. In the phrase, the power of dreams, in the obsession with engines, in the refusal to accept good enough. People who worked with him describe a man who was intense. He yelled. He laughed. He tested ideas with his hands. He believed in reality. If it works, it works. If it fails, fix it. That mindset becomes culture. Honda keeps racing. It keeps building motorcycles and cars. It builds airplanes later. It builds robots like Asimo in the early 2000s. All of that comes from the same hunger, and it started with poverty. A boy from Shizuoka Prefecture, a father fixing bicycles, a mother weaving, a young kid staring at a passing car like it was a miracle. He never forgot the feeling, that rush, that smell of oil. The turning point of his whole life was simple. He chose to stay curious, even when people mocked him, and he chose to work, even when his job was humiliating, even when the floor was cold, even when the boss said no. He turned failure into lessons. Rejected piston rings became a better process. A crashed race car became respect for safety. A destroyed factory became a new company. Some nights, young staff read his old letters and laugh at his spelling, but they also copy his courage because it is contagious. Every time a prototype fails, someone says his name quietly, then grabs tools and tries again each dawn anyway. That is the emotional truth. Not magic, not luck, just stubborn effort. So the next time you see a Honda badge, remember this: it came from a kid with a broom. It came from hands covered in grease, and it grew into a global empire. And the truth is, he never wanted to be average. That fear pushed him forward for the rest of his life. And that is why Honda never stopped moving. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe and like the video. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.